So your first English presentation of today. I hope you'll all understand me and that'll be clear. See if we can get the Mac up and running. All right. So, good morning. I'll talk to you a bit today about connected retail, have some observations, have a bit of strategy and some approach in there. I'm used to introducing myself, so I'll skip that. I think enough was said there. Very briefly around de facto partners, because we're not that known in Germany, of course. We really have a vision, and I think that's some of what I'm talking about today as well. But we set out on our vision here saying we should make consumer lives easier. We should make companies more profitable by simply speeding up what we call the corporate adoption and effective utilization of connectivity. So we're not saying internet, but we're really saying connectivity because internet has evolved and is so much more than just what everybody understands around internet. It's really about connected everything, which is what we are seeing for the day tomorrow. From there, we set out on a mission to increase the revenues and profit for consumer companies by enabling their connected potential to the benefit of their consumers. And we offer a full service, but we're also a very modern company. We're basically an operation with no personnel. We're only 2 people, we're 2 partners, and we work in each country with the best entrepreneurs there are, and we simply take those entrepreneurs in and we put them on different projects. I do not believe you today can find the best people in e-commerce and online who are in one company, because they keep evolving, they keep switching around. So if you're too static, you won't evolve with the internet and the connectivity, so you need to attract the best people at all times. And that's kind of how we have set that up as well. Now, who do we work for? Some of them might be known to Müller, for instance. We ran that business for 11 months. What you see online today is pretty much what we have done. So we have a lot of the photos, for instance, what we have done. I heard Zoo Plus was just mentioned. Now, one of our clients was Pet's Place. Very traditional retailer, of course, and you can imagine a traditional retailer looking at that online market. Everybody's saying it's not growing, but Zoo Plus enters Holland and within 4 years are doing 15 to 20 million online. Not one of the traditional retailers who owned the market before that are online today. Now, that needed some change, and that is getting some change. But, that is, I think, what you look at a lot of retailers today, where they are. We Fashion is already online, is known to some of you, more very, very youth-focused brand. And so we work a lot in different, O'Neill, in different retail and fashion retail. But also Procter & Gamble, for instance, where you see a wholesaler, which I think we heard before as well. A wholesaler who says, okay, some of our clients now are not the traditional retailers anymore. Some of our clients are the online pure plays. How, could be the Ottos of this world. In Holland, it's the Weekamp. How are we going to approach that? What strategy should we have, and how can we educate our people to do so? So those are some of the things and some of the questions we work with. Today, enough about us, much more about you and about the market we see. I want to talk about media and shopping. I want to talk about connected and cross-channel retail. Take you through a little bit of social media and retailers and some of the very basics of that. And then I hope we have time for some trends and observations, which I always find the most fun. So media and shopping today, just a really short overview. If you look at your business today, the internet has changed how your customers purchase. The purchase behavior is completely different now than it is 5 years ago. What you see is that, for instance, on a day one, an ad triggers a research. So there's still a lot of TV advertising, and it works very well also for online and for offline. But say there's a TV ad that triggers the research. At Google, you can really see which TV ads are on. You can almost do that yourself with the insights for search. You can really see what is on right now, and if it's a good ad, people will search for that, and you will see the search volume for that specific shop or that brand go up. Now, there might also come a door-to-door fall. They're very popular in Holland. Get all these commercials in on the different days of the week, and people, they go through them, and they might start doing some research. They usually go to Google, or they go to some comparison sites, and from there they go and visit different brand stores. Now, often many brands take at least 7 days before people then actually take the next action, because people also have different things to do during the week. And there they might say they're looking for some jeans. They might go to different stores. They might go to a department store. They might go to some of the brand stores like a G-Star. They might venture on to H&M. But already en route here, they might check in with Facebook. And on Facebook, they see an ad from somebody else who actually triggers them then to continue over to Sarah, because Sarah actually now is doing jeans as well, for instance. So you see there's a different way. But they might not buy it. Especially if it's a purchase. We saw this with Yx in the UK, for instance. A lot of young people buying 200 pound boots. That, of course, takes a little bit longer as well. But you also see there's a mobile phone. The purchase cycle of mobile phones is 38 days in many countries. Now, they might take then up to 20 days. Then they actually go online again and say, well, I really wanted those jeans. They might use some different search engines just to be nice. And they go to different stores again. And in this process is where you see that they actually, if you're not then present online, you might have triggered them with your ad. You might have triggered them with the door-to-door folder. But at that point, you actually lose the client. You lose the customer. And here's then the fun part. A lot of them still, and I think we just saw this in the presentation before as well, then maybe buy it only on day 38. But where do they buy it? Do they buy it online? Not always. We saw that with the mobile example. Some of them actually go, and a lot of them still, luckily for retailers, go and buy it offline. And I think this is where we see that this isn't how it used to happen. It's not how it happened a few years ago. And you need to play on very different channels to continue to trigger that interest and not lose it for a competitor. My favorite example at Google was the market leader in suitcases is a company called F&A. It's a department store. They have more than 30% of the market in Holland on suitcases and bags. Now, they would send out these great door-to-door folders, Kingston suitcase. And we would simply see at Google, people would go online and search for that, but the only one having an ad on suitcases, that was Wacom, which is the pure play online. And they would just, the door-to-door folder would trigger this interest of suitcase. Oh yeah, I'm going traveling, I need a new suitcase. But the purchase wouldn't happen in the department store anymore because people don't want to lodge the suitcase through the city on the Saturday afternoon in the rush. So they ordered online, it's delivered to their home. So they actually spend the money, they get the interest, but they don't get the purchase because they were not playing on the right channels. When they saw that, they bought up all the inventory of suitcases. It's a great business model, but that's a different part of the story. Another thing that I think is happening is, and we see that in here, we're told it's not representative, which is also true, but still, smartphones and tablets, this is the new internet. So just a couple of years ago, we didn't have tablets. This is how fast it's going. We've been having this slide actually for more than 2 years, and people go, yeah, that's true, yeah, okay, it's coming. But it's here, it's already happening. And you see that 50% of internet connections are mobile at least. You see that especially if your business is in countries that are developing, and even the younger generation here, they're not used to this computers and internet on the computer. Internet is something that happens on a tablet or on a phone. And they want your websites, they want your content to be available there. They want that to be available in those formats. And I mean, we saw that what people buy online in retail might not be, in closing might not be so strong, but at Hunkemöller we saw that at least 6 to 7% was already being bought via the website on mobile phones alone. So it might also be in some of those businesses we say, yeah, well, it's not being bought online via the phone yet. Well, but is the site optimized for it? Can the site handle the request? Or are people deeply disappointed if they have to try and log in and do all kind of other things via the mobile phone, which is too difficult? So are you catering to this part of the business of your customers? And then I think another piece, if you advertise, you have lost your customers' undivided attention. You just don't have it anymore. So this is media stacking. And I think, how many of you do this when you watch TV? How many is doing something else? How many is on the laptop, on the phone, right? So it's not only the young people anymore, it's a 15-year-old, 18-year-old. It's all of us. If we watch TV at home, which is rarely, then 2 laptops are open, phone conversation is going on. There's so many things happening at the same time. The great news is, when you then combine the media, you actually have a higher chance of having people purchase your product. When you actually, then you play in on that search that the customer does when they see your ad, and you're there as well with the same message, that's when they consider your product and your brand. In the US, the marketeers are spending 16% online. What is your company spending online? This figure is growing to 26% by 2016. That's 77 billion, and that's what they're spending on TV ads today. And I think you have to question yourself, if you're still spending 2, 3, 4% online, are you losing out? And I think the conclusion here is you have to change your marketing mix. If you're not playing on different channels, you should be. And you have to find a way that you can internally in the company also get that accepted, and you can set that up. because you cannot continue to do what you always have been doing. Okay, everyone happy? Clear so far? Yeah? All right. Let's look at some of the pieces on connected and cross-channel retail. Connected and cross-channel retail, I think, is best explained by, let's see if we get this one here, to some of the naturals. Naturals are the Generation Y as well, they're called, C. And it's the young people. Let's have a look at this for 1 second.
If you work in marketing, you better start upping your game.
Because you haven't seen anything like us yet.
In just 10 years from now, we'll be buying and influencing buying
In ways that will confound you.
We won't just watch your ads. We'll expect smart, tailored content based on our social graphs.
Tailored for me.
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 And me.
We want to interact with it as we watch it. Not just with touch, but with voice,
With gesture.
With intent. You better embed everything that is featured with additional information, social APIs, and e-commerce functionality.
And we mean everything.
everything.
Everything. The car.
The skirt.
The hotel.
The app.
Because we expect to double tap on anything to get more information.
Don't worry. You'll offset the cost by on-selling any leads to those data aggregator type companies.
We'll spread it through our networks.
And co-create with you.
And when we do buy, there are normally more of us than there are of you. We can change your business
In one trade.
as long as the deal is on.
Augmented reality.
Will be the new reality.
AR apps will almost function like special skills to help us navigate reality more effectively.
You wait and see what the iPhone of 2021 looks like. The clue is in the name.
And you better get used to paying us.
Our browsing, influencing, and purchasing data.
Will make some of us pretty rich.
But don't overstep the mark. Otherwise, we'll block you.
Mass blocks kill brands overnight and keep you up all night. So if you work in marketing,
You better start upping your game. Because you haven't seen anything like us yet.
Of course, there's also a stage video. I still really like it. It still really gives that point of view, which, the children wouldn't express like this on their own, but it's what they're doing. It's what they're doing every day very naturally. It just comes natural to them. It's the way they think, and it's the way they behave online. Now, what are they actually talking about? They're talking about connected retail. They're talking about connect everything everywhere, and that is what they expect. They're talking about use social media. They're saying, use my information to tailor to me. Use my Facebook information to tailor to use. Google is trying this now with Google+. Your search results will be what you have online. Your search results will be from your friends. People are freaked out about suddenly, we have access to this bright world, but I'm losing touch where I live. So they're also bringing it all back. It's being much more filtered. They're saying co-create. They want to influence the brand. They want to influence what's coming. They want to influence how they can buy, where they can buy, what they can buy. And they can topple your brand if you don't watch out. You do not have that unlimited power anymore to run your business. It has been divided, and consumers have a say. I think Procter & Gamble in the US with the diapers, when they launched a new diaper and they had a mass storm of it, they almost had to put it back off the shelves. It was just really massive. And that is where consumers can come in. It might not even always be true. I don't actually think the claim of the consumers were true. Some people just like the old diapers better. Now, and then I think there's a big opportunity here with big data. And we'll talk, I don't know, how many of you have heard of the name and the term big data? Okay, 1 or 2. Okay, great. So we'll go into big data a little bit later on under the trends. Connect everything everywhere. We're not very good at it at the moment. I think the hotel is actually trying to do a good job. You can give feedback as you walk along the hallways. You can tell them what you feel already. When you pick up the phone to call guest services, they keep talking about their Facebook page. They're really trying to connect with you further than when you just interact with them one-on-one. But that, of course, connect everything everywhere goes much further than that. I have a few examples. You can't cover everything, but just one of the things we see, which is a trend as well, is we see that retailers, especially in fashion retail, they're connecting online with their in-store inventory. It gives almost a never out-of-stock situation. What it also does is, you can get into a store, they don't have your size, and you can place the order right there. You see in some businesses, where they offer this, especially for instance shoes. Shoes are difficult to stock, right? You have a wide-ranging size curve, you have to stock a lot of shoes, and you don't have a lot of space in the store. So people often come in, you don't find your size, and you have to leave again. Now, of the e-commerce orders, actually up to 40% are in-store orders. So 40% of what looks like your e-commerce business is placed in the physical retail store. And those are clients that would otherwise have walked out and walked somewhere else. Or perhaps before, you would have ordered it for them in another store, and they would have to come pick it up a few days later if they came. And that gives a lot of in-between store traffic, which a lot of retailers spend several $100,000 on every year. Now you move that to sending a package to the home, or of course they can also be sent to the store if they prefer to pick it up. But you're not always seeing a lot higher cost because of it. And then the picking from in-store inventory, we see in retail as well, is you might in one store have a small, in the next store you have a medium hanging, and then you have a large. That doesn't sell very well in any store. Some of the very good retailers in shoes, for instance, they have moved it saying, okay, this model sells well in this store, so let's take all the inventory from up north where it's not selling and move it down south. But what you're seeing now is they simply make the in-store inventory available online. So online suddenly does not have broken size runs anymore. The online actually have complete size runs. And that's, of course, an advantage. And also what it is that broken size run up north suddenly can be sold down south, or it can be sold in the entire country. And that also gives each store a much wider range, much wider reach. So it's actually a national reach for a store that normally was just locally in Bonn, for instance. And then you have the whole click and collect concept. You see that in several retailers, 50% of what's ordered online, actually people want to pick up in the store. We used to think, oh, it's so great, send it to my home. But nobody's home. And we're only now getting special delivery time saying I want it between 6 and 8, but everybody wants it between 6 and 8 at night. So at one point there also comes a limitation to what can really be handled, at least within the next couple of years. So it's really nice, you can deliver to your work, or you can come pick it up. You just want to know it's in stock. You don't want to go to that store and see it not being there again and again and again. And it's also great if you have physical stores, if you can drive the consumers there, you will see that the consumer who enters the store, at least a quarter of them will buy something else. It's usually already a bigger ticket client. They're spending more online than your just in-store client does, and they will spend some extra when they're there. I think something else about connection is that you're seeing that the point of sale systems retailers have not invested in them for years. They're old, they can't connect with internet, and when you see now that they are considering upgrading them, they're upgrading the existing system. But I think retailers who look a bit further, like the Aurora Group, they actually, I see this is falling off a bit, but they actually have introduced iPads. It's great because people don't connect them with work, they don't connect them with a sale, they connect them with something nice and something private. You don't have to explain your personnel how to use them, and you can actually take the sales process from behind the cash desk, and I'm telling you something here, to actually walking up to you, discussing the product, showing you suddenly all the information about the product is also available, from washing instructions to what the fabric is, to how to wear it, to combination tips that can sell you as well, is available in the aisle. If you've ever been shopping in the US with an Apple store, and they might do it here as well, but I haven't really seen that, but in the US, and they walk up to you and you take whatever accessory, like I bought this one the other day, and they will say, okay, give me your credit card. You give the credit card, and they say, thank you very much. What's your email? They say, okay, I have just mailed the bill to your email address, and signed you up for our newsletter, of course. And then you walk out the store. But every time you kind of feel like you're stealing something because you don't feel you really had a transaction. It's almost like a gift. You're kind of afraid that the beeper at the door is going to go off. You know that you took something that didn't belong to you. But it's just a new way of service. And I think if you have to upgrade your point-of-sale system, this is somewhere to look. And look at what PayPal is doing. They're setting up a store now. It's a demo store in the US. But to show how online payment can move offline. So those two worlds, payment is really merging. And the phone will allow to be your payment very shortly. So are you ready for that? And can you connect with the consumer in that way as well? Because that gives completely new possibilities as well. Okay, let's look at just a really short two-slide case. But the Bijenkorf is a department store does anybody know the Bijenkorf? Anybody ever come in Amsterdam? A few people. Great, thank you. That's great. So the Bijenkorf is a luxury department store. They have all the brands, the Louis Vuittons, they have all the big brands in there as well now. And it's a very nice place to shop. And they've been doing a really good job online the last couple of years. And what they have really focuses on, by connecting and allowing people to shop in different channels, they have increased the loyalty. They have increased the sales by offering the connectivity across different channels. So what they see is that members, because they can track this because they have their own credit cards, so they can track this very, very precisely. But members that bought only in store, they spent over 2009 and 2010, they spent the same. But the ones they got to buy cross-channel, they actually went from 116 to 114 in store. So they went down just a tiny little bit, but I mean, this is negligible. It's not very much. But they actually started spending much more online. So they had spent in 2009 26 online, and now they're actually spending 45. So this is a huge growth. So the sale growth is really coming from offering the connectivity, for offering the customer to shop where they want to shop. It's also coming from the next thing they're doing, which is they simply allow the consumer to interact with them in the channel of their choice, whether you pick it up in store or if you return it in store or if you do that online. Most retailers today online, you can only return. Right? So you can't change. But mostly if you get something wrong, you want to change it because you actually wanted the product. So the people who come in and change in store, and they might change for 100 euros, they re-spend between 60 and 80 euros right there. Now that's huge, because when they would just return it online, that 100 euro sale will be gone. So for that 80% exchange, you're actually driving up your revenues, and you're also having a happy customer walk out there. It's not true for all businesses. It's also easier because they have a wide variety to offer. But it's certainly something to look at also online. How can you offer it online? And this becomes really complex. It's usually pretty easy to offer just an exchange for different size. But in some size curves, you also see that the prices become different. But what if it's a complete different product? A lot of e-commerce system isn't set up to handle this, but it really gives an added value. And who's going to pay for the shipment? And there's all these things. But I think you see someone like Zalando, they're changing that because now every shipping has to be free. It's very annoying in a lot of retailers in Holland because they're grabbing a big part of the market with fantastic offering. And the same here, what is the offering? Do you really want that sale? Or is it just on some products? How do you do that? Have you looked at your margins? How can you really offer that extra service? Let's briefly on connected retail with the time we have today. So social media and retailers, I've been asked to say a few words about. What we see is that a lot of you are listening. And then the company buys some software and you can be listening again. And then what? Companies are afraid. They're afraid of two things. They don't know what to do. How shall we engage with the customers? What shall we tell them? What do they want to know? Are they interested? And what if it's a success? We have to get more people. We have to invest. I don't want to invest in this. I don't know. What's the return on investment? Can anybody tell me? I think there's some sessions on that later, but I really want to try to follow. But what's the return on investment of social media? So a lot of companies are staying behind because they don't really know what to do if it actually takes off. So it's almost a fear of success in there. I think at least use social media for service. It's expected by the consumers today. You want to be able to reach out and ask that question. I mean, I have been upset with KLM tons of time, but because of this, the fast answer you get from them, and the way that they just send us a direct message and they will follow up on it, you never get to the direct message because already then somebody has listened to you, they have apologized, which the clerk maybe didn't do, and they have diffused the situation, they have a happy customer. There's so much you can do there. If you have a problem, it's finally they're actually following up on it. And I think that's important. Let your customers know you're there. We're here, we're listening to you. Track the conversation. Not only what's being said on Twitter, track it across and then figure out how to bring it back to the mediums where you are. And really respond. I think these are some of the best practices, some of the rules. Be quick, be transparent in your when you respond as well. And be authentic. Don't, be the brand, but also be a person behind that. And really love your own brand. If you can't get the people answering this to really love what they do and love working for you, then they shouldn't be doing it. And then I think have an emergency plan. Have a look at Pampers online and see what happened. It's clearly there are sitting two people there managing the Facebook page, and suddenly you're having 5,000 people complaining. Then you see like 20 mothers complaining, and then you have this one person from Procter trying to answer a little bit, saying, yeah, we're really sorry, and then you have 100 mothers answering, and then you have this person coming back, and I felt really bad. I thought, oh, it must be a terrible job at that point. It was probably fun until that day, but then it really stopped. And if you don't have a plan, if it goes wrong, you can have a problem. So you need to always have this backup plan as well. And I think that's really missing. It's missing a lot of the best practices online as well. All right. Use your collective knowledge. I've been having this slide from 12th Force up there for years. 12th Force, Best Buy, using all their sales clerks to give advice online, whether you buy with them or not. Now, finally, Vodafone launched this in Holland. And it's fantastic. I'm a Vodafone client, but I'm not particularly loyal. I'm just like them because of how they use their data, and I know what my charges is when I travel. But now I really like it. I had this problem with my phone. It kept saying tag. I couldn't figure out what it was. And I thought it was pretty savvy, but I didn't know what it was. So they had this, and I asked them. Yeah, it is because it has this chip in there, right, that you can pay with soon and so forth. And as soon as I see some other chip, it goes, hey, here's a chip. Do you want to connect with it? And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know this. And they answered, they solved it, and it has this stickiness. It made the brand really cool, and it personifies the brand, and I can really connect with it now. And I know next time I have a problem, they will get it solved. And their stores are terrible. They're rude, they're not very nice, they don't know anything. But these guys, they're really great. And look at them, they're pretty cool too. I'm sure they don't look like that, but you kind of feel like you're connecting with somebody young, smart, and handsome in the back. And it makes me feel good. So I think they did that really well, and I think there's really a lot of opportunity out there for this. But if you do this, go where the customer goes. Most companies in Holland go to Twitter, which can be a good medium, but since 13% of consumers actively use Twitter, it should maybe not be where a quarter of the companies are. Maybe it's Facebook, maybe it's Hives, maybe it's somewhere else. But don't spend your time and energy if it's not where your customers are. All right, I am running badly out of time because I've been limited here to half an hour. Social commerce, it's not in these forms, but it's definitely going to take off in the next coming years. Figure out what works, especially going to be taking off because of some of the new payment methods that are coming. I really just want to give you this, though. How do you get started? This is from INSEAD, but what you see in the left axis is falling off, but about superior performance. Superior performance of a company is you have consumers who have a high willingness to pay and low operational cost. And then you have the time. How do you achieve this, and where does social media help? Well, I think you have to start internally. You have to build emotional capital internally, and there's a couple of definitions how you build emotional capital. But when you have that, you can start growing a culture of sharing information. When you have emotional capital within the company, people will work harder and longer and for less. You're seeing the new CEO of Unilever building that brilliantly within the company. And when you're used to sharing, then you can have people sharing outside. Because they have that emotional capital, they're proud of where they work, they love the brand, and they want to share that. And you can start building this sharing culture of people that you don't just employ to share, but people who might be designers, people who might be doing other stuff that the consumers want to hear about, that the consumers want to connect with. And then you can monitor and grow the emotional capital internally, but also externally. And this is where it gets interesting. When you get that emotional capital with your customers, that's when it gets interesting. And that's when you achieve the superior performance. I think these are kind of some of the best practice steps from the business schools on how to do that. So, there's 3 minutes for trends and observations. As long as we cover big data, I'm pretty happy. Big data is all around you. Right now, most of you having a smartphone, having some other device, that is tracking you. It knows where you are, it knows what you're doing. That gets logged, it doesn't get deleted. If you travel with the train, you have one of the travel cards, it goes beep, 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 you don't have the old-fashioned tickets anymore. That travels and logs you where you are. In many countries, Germany sometimes a little bit different luckily, but many countries, there were actually no rules or regulations what to store this. Holland introduced it. It wasn't really secure, they didn't really know what to do with it, but they were going to keep it for research purposes for at least 5 years. So there's a lot of data being stored all the time. It can be used. They're starting to use the mobile phones to figure out where people are in their cars at what time to regulate traffic better. You can get a lot of good information out of big data, but big data is big, but it's also really fine-grained, and this is where it's changing. It can be real-time, and it's associative. You can associate it with different things. It can be shared, it's intelligent, and it's all around you. Now, this is, for the coming 5 to 10 years, going to change the world in big time and change companies' fortunes. It will really demand a new mindset from senior executives. A lot of people aren't getting it. 2 or 3 people in the room had heard about it. it's about the role of information in business and the nature of competitive advantage. What I think it means now is companies need to have a vision. They need to understand who holds the data, how can they use it, how can you collect it, how can you store it, how can you analyze it, how can it benefit your customers, how can you connect with them. They ask for it, connect with us, use my data to connect with me, tailor to me, and then plan for that impact on your organization. Now, the ones who are expected to benefit from this mostly, so the size of the bubble is kind of the size of the relative size of the GDP for that sector. And this is kind of like the value potential index, so is the value of big data high, and the historical productivity growth in the United States. So this is a slide for the US. So you see the big bubbles, especially the one to the right, like government, but they don't know what to do with finance and insurance as well. But healthcare, for instance, is really big. Manufacturing is big. And who's sitting on the data today? That is people like phone companies, for instance. That is people like internet providers. A lot of the people we haven't heard from years and who are looking at what can we do with this and how can we benefit. So just some concrete examples here, but the US healthcare, I mean, there's a 300 billion value per year in there with a lot of growth, for instance, because of what they can do with it. A lot of this in government and healthcare is actually cost savings. They can use this data to save cost. They can use this data to operate more efficiently. The European public sector as well, but also the global personal location data. There's really 100 billion revenue opportunity there for service providers. Maybe we should buy some shares if they get it right. And there's a 700 billion value to the end users, which is estimated. And retail and manufacturing are two other really, really big sectors where they see that up to a 60% increase in margin. Now, who wouldn't like a 60% increase in the margins is possible. So I think this is really where big data, if you haven't heard about it, this is something to dive into. This is really going to change fortunes, and it can change companies. You will see new companies come up. That's what the guy said up there. It will make some of us pretty rich. It will. It will also make some people pretty poor who were rich before. So that's really one of the things to take away. I think I have to start rounding off quickly, so I'm going to skip through this. Tell you one thing about this. What's the universal login? Who's allowing people to log in with Facebook on their site? No. Okay. And and are you using the data as well to customize personally or not yet? No, not yet. But that's obviously what you can. Facebook gives you, if you allow the Facebook login, it gives you a lot of data. Google wants to own this, Twitter wants to own this, everybody wants to own this. I think Facebook is winning, but I don't know if I'm right. I'll make this shareable. Have a look at this about mobile phones, because big data, again, follows you and tailors to you. American Express and Yahoo in the UK, American Express is giving the data to the Yahoo. They know what you bought in the supermarket. They know you like chocolate. And they're giving you a chocolate ad online. And then they're checking if you buy some more chocolate in the supermarket. And if they don't, they'll give you another chocolate ad. And this is really how the big data is following you and how it's being used. And as soon as these rights issue between who owns what is getting solved, Google already teamed up with MasterCard. I mean, it's not for charity, right? So they know where you are. They know what you search for. And the bank knows you can't pay for it. And the retailer knows you want to buy it. So when you're walking past the retailer, the bank is going to offer you that instant loan of $500 because you can go buy that new dress you wanted for the party on Saturday, which you're going to because you got an invite. And they all know this. They're just not combining it yet. And if anybody's going to stop them, it'll be the Germans, but let's see how the legislation goes in Europe. Okay, 5 tips to connect to the naturals. 1 medium at a time is just so last millennium. Decisions are made almost exclusively through social networks. There are no ad breaks, so that's just in between for them. Only expect their partial attention and don't even think about censoring them, because that'll be the end of that. Conclusion on a brief half hour. We talked about media and shopping today, how it's changed. We talked a bit about connected retails, the naturals, how to connect, what can you do to connect, some of the brief examples. Cross-channel retail being extremely important. Social media, trying to figure out what you should do with it, how you should do it, how you can reach them. And then some trends and observations where I think you have to really take away the big data if you hadn't done that before. Okay. Thank you very much.